Hey everyone, it's Phil Wade. How are you this evening? Thank you so much for being here. We'll give it a few minutes, let everybody kind of join on, and then we'll and we'll get rolling in just a moment. Share my screen here. All right. If we could hold off on any questions till the end, that would be great. Appreciate that. So hope everyone is doing well. We'll give it another minute and then we'll get started. Appreciate everybody being here. Hope everyone's doing well. All right, let me move the slide and we will get rolling. All right, so we're here to talk tonight about about prospecting. So when I was first an agent, it was one of my first transactions, and it was me and another gentleman, and he was also kind of a rookie, but he did say something to me that really has stuck with me, over the years, and it's top agents are always prospecting for business, right? They're always doing that. So prospecting is really the most important thing we do as real estate agents. Without prospecting, it's difficult to succeed. It's probably impossible to succeed. So we're going to talk about, some different thoughts, some different ideas, give you some, some of my experience, some things that I have learned. So again, got to be out there prospecting. We'll talk more about, how to allocate your time. Again, there are no home runs, right? There's nothing I can tell you that if you do this, you will succeed as a real estate agent or you will increase your business. That's again not how this really works. It works really a lot of little things. You got to do a lot of little things consistently, day in, day out, and you've got to do them well, right? So no home runs, but a lot of singles. And if you have a lot of singles, those are the little things, right? They add up to home runs, right? So again, no magic bullet, right? But day in, day out, consistency of what you do. So if you're a newer agent or even an experienced agent and you do this full time, the majority of your time should be spent prospecting, right? I mean, again, if you think about it, what do we do as real estate agents? We go on listing appointments, we show buyers homes, we go to home inspections, we go to final walkthroughs, we go to closings. So those are our time, that's our time in the field, right? But the vast majority of time, we need to be prospecting, right? And if you're, a part-time agent, meaning you have either a full-time job or another part-time job, say you have a full-time job and you're hoping, and I've heard this many, many times, I'm going to try to, because, that person can't go what I call cold turkey, meaning they can't quit their job and see if they succeed as a real estate agent. Just financially, that sometimes for people doesn't work, right? So what are you going to do? Oh, let me see if I get my business going and then maybe I can transition to being a full-time agent. Awesome. Hopefully you can do that. But again, what do you got to do? You got to say to yourself, okay, let's say I have a 40-hour-a-week job. And then I've got another 20 hours that I'm going to devote to get my real estate business going. Well, a lot of that time needs to be spent prospecting, right? How much time will you allocate? There's a reason why there's such a high failure rate for real estate agents because they don't prospect, they don't work at it. They just think, oh, the business is going to fall out of the sky. Doesn't work like that. Doesn't work like that at all. It's hard. It's a hard job. It's hard work. And that prospecting, especially when you're new, is critical. And then it builds upon itself, right? Again, I think this is another very important bullet, right? You must find people you don't know to succeed as an agent. I remember, right when I first moved to Florida, it's probably now 9 years ago, and I was out doing transactions. I think I have maybe two or three agents at the time. And one of my clients asked me to do a broker open. So I promoted it, I did it, and there was, a nice young lady from Keller Williams. And, I'm trying to quasi recruiter, right? And I asked her, like, what are you doing? And this is her response: I'm working my sphere. I'm working my sphere. Your sphere of influence is one component of, at least in my opinion, 5 things you need to be doing. She's long gone from the business, right? What she's hoping is that the people she knows will give her enough business so she can succeed. Not possible. Not possible. Most of us don't know enough people, right? Somebody buys a house, they may not buy another house for several years. They sell a house, right? That house is sold. So you got to find people you don't know. They're out there. Trust me, they're out there and you can find them, but you got to do the right things and put the right effort forth. All right. Human capital. Human capital, what is that? Human capital is your time. Your time is extremely valuable, right? How, especially in the beginning, especially if you're a newer agent, right? And you're trying to get going, how you allocate and spend your time is critical, right? Your time is valuable, but it's not like you're shelling money out, right? We have our financial capital. That's your money. I was talking to, a long time Dalton Wade agent today, and, talking a little bit about internet leads. And, internet leads, they cost money. They cost money. And what we've seen happen over time is the return on that investment is less and less, meaning it's harder to convert. You don't get as many leads. The cost per lead, from when I started to now has probably tripled in cost. So it's harder, right? It's harder. Be very careful with your money, how you spend it. There's hundreds and hundreds of service providers for real estate agents promising, hey, we're going to get you business, right? We're going to do right. And, a lot of times they want you to sign up for, 6 months, a year. And then if it doesn't work, you're out of luck. And then this last bullet is really just a personal pet peeve of mine. Answer the phone. Somebody calls, you don't know, it could be a potential client. Do a lot of recruiting. Do you know how many agents I call? They don't even have a voice greeting. They don't even have, I mean, it is bad. And I think we'll see more things that agents don't do. And then you say to yourself, well, gee, why didn't they succeed? Well, they didn't succeed because they didn't put the building blocks in place. They didn't put that foundation in place to succeed. Talk more about that. So answer the phone, have a nice voice greeting, let people know who you are, and then call them back if you couldn't pick up that phone. Because again, it could be a potential client. It's all a numbers game, right? The more people you contact, the more people you touch, the more business you will do. All right. So this is basically how I built my business when I was an agent, and I did it twice, once in Boston and then again here in Florida before I, began to grow the brokerage, right? So I kind of used to be the four horsemen, right? Kind of popular football term, five horsemen, five things. And again, this isn't an all-encompassing list, but it's pretty darn close, right? Listings, open houses, internet leads, social media, and then again, your sphere of influence, right? You're going to allocate part of your day to these five things. Now, every day you're not going to be doing an open house, right? Or, your sphere of influence, it's hard to allocate time to that. But, listings, internet leads, social media, you know, time block. We'll talk more about how to spend your time, what you should be doing. Again, many agents, they just don't put the effort in. And then they ask themselves, well, gee, why isn't this working for me? Why aren't I succeeding? It's really lack of effort. As I said, and you'll hear me say it again, the business just doesn't fall out of the sky. You got to find the business. You got to dig out the business. You got to be talking to people continually. You got to be working at it. Your whole mindset is prospecting. I'm growing my business. I got to find clients. If you can't find clients, if you struggle finding people, right? Finding clients, especially people you don't know, I hate to say it, but maybe this isn't the business for you. Again, there's nothing wrong. Like, I mean, there's a reason 80% of real estate agents don't succeed. Why? Well, often it's because they can't find business and they can't find, again, I go back to that girl. Maybe she did a few deals, but then, I remember meeting another guy. This is way back on. He was a Remax agent and I'm trying to recruit him. He didn't end up joining. And this guy's MO was he had been an agent about 15 months. And in his first 4 months, he did 4 deals. 4 deals, pretty good, right? But they were all from family, friends. And then that well ran dry. Now he's gone 8 months without a transaction. Well, his name was David. David, are you spending any time, calling, potential listers? Nope, I don't do that. What about open houses? Once in a while I do one. What about internet leads? No, I don't really have any internet leads coming in. What about social media? I don't like social media, right? So he was doing nothing and his results showed that, right? You gotta prospect, you gotta have a plan. All right, let's talk a little bit more about listings, right? Listings are the best part of the business. Why? Listings give you the multiplier effect. When you have a buyer, right? And there's nothing wrong. A nice mix of business is maybe 60% listings, 40% buyer agency, right? But when you have a listing, the opportunity to meet buyers and just have other good things happen is is out there. My best true story, I had a listing, and from that listing, I got, I think it was 14 other transactions. I got a neighbor's listing. Then I got another neighbor listing. And then, right, I got a couple more, and it just kept going, but it all kind of tentacled back to that one original listing, right? Listings are powerful. So what are you going to do? Well, you got to decide how am I going to do this? Right? So there's kind of two ways. One is to have your farm, right? A farm is typically a defined geographic area. It may be the area you live in, right? That's your farm. Everybody in your farm should know, you're a realtor. Where I live, it's probably about 800 homes, 2 realtors. They dominate. Everybody knows them, right? We have a Christmas stroll in the neighborhood. Both of them have bands playing out in front of their home. Now, again, other agents get listings in the neighborhood, but not nearly to the extent of these two. So it's their farm. They've developed that farm and they work that farm, right? And then the other one is a broader approach. Maybe you're out there offering a slight discount on the listing side and you don't really care whether that listing is in your farm neighborhood or 15, 20 miles away. You'll take any listing. That was my approach. I didn't have a farm. I had a very broad approach. Wherever I could get a listing, I took it, within maybe, I don't know, 35 minutes of where I lived. Why? Because, again, hopefully what's going to happen is from your listings, you're going to meet some buyers. Right now, if your listing is too far away, then you got a truck out there to take that buyer around because that's probably where they're looking, right? But again, you got to decide. You could have a couple of farms, right? Couple of areas that you prospect hard in, or hey, I'm going to do that, but then if a listing comes up somewhere else, I'm still open to taking it. There's great data. Dalton Wade, owns Turner Title. Put a little plug in for them. They're awesome. I mean, they've got now 65-star reviews. Many of you know Lisa. She's over there. They're doing a great job, great service, right? To an awesome job. And they have this Turner Title prospecting tool. Very, very cool. It'll basically allow you to set up a farm, whatever, you can draw the polygon, right? And it will tell you, hey, these folks, these homes are the ones that have the highest propensity to list their home in the next 6 to 12 months. Those are the people you want to be talking to. You're talking to somebody who just bought 3 months ago, they're not going to be selling anytime soon. So you're kind of wasting your time. You want to be efficient, right? Door knocking. Again, you're the local realtor. I mean, again, did I actually door knock? No, I never did, but I know agents do it. I know agents are successful doing it, right? They go, because again, it's all about meeting people. When you meet somebody, you either speak to them on the phone or you meet them in person, right? You have a better chance. They get to know you, you connect with them as opposed to a text or email, right? So maybe you're knocking your farm and you do that, a few times a year and check in with people and get to know them. And, not everybody's going to be home. Maybe you leave something, something behind, a door hanger. Again, door hangers, you're promoting your service, you're letting them know who you are. Typically don't have, a long shelf life. But again, with that Turner Title prospecting tool, it'll tell you who you should knock and who you should leave that door hanger with, right? It's targeted. Just sold, just listed postcards. Again, we get a lot of returns from, bad addresses. And I'll ask the, again, Metza, at least from all the data that I've been able to uncover. Sometimes they work, right? Sometimes they don't. Sometimes people are sending out postcards, right? And they're effective. And again, maybe you sent it out, maybe you knocked their door, right? They remembered you, you left something behind, right? And then now they're ready to list and you're on their radar. You're on their radar and you get to present to them and tell them how you're going to get their home sold. Warm calling, right? I call it warm calling. It could be potentially cold calling, right? But again, expired, withdrawn, for sale by owners, right? Get on that phone. I mean, I used to call 10 people a day, every day, every day. I hated it. I hated it, but I did it every day. What does that mean? 10 calls a day. In a month, that's 200 calls. I had a 2% conversion, meaning out of those 200 people, I got 4 appointments. And out of those 4 appointments, I got 3 listings. Those were my numbers, primarily around FISBOs. But I made those calls religiously. You gotta put the time in, put the effort in. So you got a listing, couple listings. out there doing open houses. Open houses are a great way to meet potential buyers for free, for free. You know, I tell a little joke. I usually tell it before I get to this slide. I'm going to tell it now. There's only one thing better than listings. That's expensive listings, right? Expensive listings. Why? Well, obviously the commission is more, but guess what? When you have a higher price listing, guess who you're meeting? Higher priced buyers. Higher priced buyers. You know what I found out? Somebody buying an $800,000 home is actually a lot easier to work with than somebody buying a $300,000 home. Why? More sophisticated, typically conventional or cash, not FHA or VA, right? Again, I turned my nose up at nobody. Took every business, whether it was a $100,000 property or $1 million property. But again, those higher end listings better, right? Be out there doing that open house. An open house has, two benefits. One, sellers love it. I used to call, prospecting for listings. Oh, did they ever do any open houses? They did one, but they say they don't work. That's BS. That's a lazy agent. They don't care, right? You got to be hungry. You got to work. You got to put that effort in. You got to be meeting people. This is a people business. People work with you because they like you. You have a better chance of them liking you if you meet them. Get good at conducting an open house. We have an open house training, right? That's recorded. Mary, does, I believe, every other week, a live training on how to get the most out of an open house. Or maybe if you're new, connect with another Dalton Wade agent who's doing an open house and watch them in action. Watch them. Get good at your craft, right? Here were my numbers, 3% conversion. So out of 33 people, and it was obviously, might be 4 or 5 open houses that I had to conduct. I got one buyer, one client for free. I didn't pay Zillow or a referral fee to Op City. I generated that myself. But I tell you, I was out there every weekend, most weekends doing 2 open houses, 12 to 1:30. You don't have to be there long. And then 2:30 to 4. Trying to get more people through, meet more people. Again, when you're the listing agent and it's your listing, you have more credibility. If you're doing an open house for somebody else, that's fine too. Make sure you know a lot about that house. You can tell that potential buyer how old that roof is, right? And work it. Meet them. People work with you because they like you. And you got to ask them for their business. Hey, would you like to look at some homes with me? Many will say yes. Get good at conducting an open house. Very profitable. Internet leads, right? Internet leads are part of the landscape. Internet leads are not going away. You need to be doing all of it. You need to be prospecting for listings. You need to be doing open houses. You need to be working your internet leads. Well, where do internet leads come from? Zillow, Realtor, Facebook, Google, OpCity, Prime Street, Dalton Wade website leads, many other sources. The industry has moved primarily, not completely, but to live transfers. Zillow, right? Live transfer, not always, but many times. OpCity, Prime Street, they're going to connect you right with that person, right? Why? Well, they do that because you have a better chance of winning their business when you speak to them, as opposed to that lead came in, via text or email. Then you got to call them, right? Then you got to, follow up with them. And again, however they come in, if you're doing, Facebook or Google leads, they're a heck of a lot cheaper. They don't convert as well as, say, Zillow, right? But then you got to, as soon as you get that lead, you got to call them. And again, you're going to call many, 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 and they're going to go nowhere. But that's not the point. The point is it's making sure you call so that one person who actually does need you, you get, not somebody else gets them. You're gonna call them twice. This is what I did. I call them twice, call them the first day, call them the second day, text them, email them, and then I set them up on a drip, right? And if I see they're opening my email, the drip is like kind of some pre-written text, some property alerts. If I see them, opening up the alerts, maybe I throw another call into them. The thing is, buyers start their search way in advance of when they're actually ready to buy. Sometimes, right? Sometimes you get lucky and the person's ready now, but not always. But they might become ready, in 4 or 5 months, or that lead came in today, but they're really not going to do much until January. That's when they're really going to, start in earnest. You called them, you text them, you emailed them. They're not ready, so they're not responding. And then you didn't do anything ever again. And then somebody else, they reach out to somebody else, they get them because now they're ready. You see them being active, reach out. Get good at internet leads. They're not going away. They're part of the business. Social media. All right, the first bullet, audit your online presence. Google your name. One of the things in recruiting that I do, somebody comes in, we have recruiters now at Dalton Wade, and maybe, I didn't get to speak to them, and, I'm not really sure, they're an agent in Texas, and I Google them, and, they pop up. And the first thing, because usually what I type in is their name, Texas Realtor. And usually what pops up is realtor.com. And I click on realtor.com, and there's their name. And there is nothing else. There's no bio, there's no picture. They are a blank canvas. Somebody who's thinking of working with you maybe is going to check you out online, and what they see is not good because there's nothing there. And they're like, is this the person for me? Google your name. Make sure you have an account with Zillow with your photo and your bio. Same with realtor.com. Same with homes.com. Make sure you look good online as best you possibly can. Again, I can't tell you how many agents, when I see one with a nice bio, I'm like, yeah, this person's got their act together. They got a good chance at succeeding. These other people, they're just like, I don't know what they're thinking. I don't know what they're doing, but they're not taking this serious. Then we have Dalton Wade Social, which is through Paradigm. It's really a great program. It will help kind of automate. Social media can be, and again, let me say one thing. You want to your personal social accounts and your business social accounts should not be the same, right? You should have a real estate social media presence that isn't your personal social media, right? So this program, when you have a listing, it will distribute your listing automatically and a video to Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, right? Pinterest, does it all for you. We'll create a video, post other Dalton Wade agents listings and their video to your channels. God, somebody's looking at your channel and geez, they've got a lot of listings. They must be a pretty good agent, right? There's a library of real estate content. Many times agents struggle with what to post. They do that for you. It's all there. You just pick it up and you post it. And then you don't want it to be too automated, right? So, supplement that with some of your own content, and you got to bang up, at least in terms of content. You've got content. Social media is two things. It's content and then engagement, right? So you're going to want to build your followers, right? By providing valuable information. Interact with them by liking and commenting on their posts. And then you have a better chance of them maybe doing the same. blogging. No one, I've never seen anybody doing this, again, because agents, I don't want to say they're lazy, but they don't really get it. What is blogging? Well, blogging is writing an article. You can do a video blog, right? But what it does for you is it tells the world you are an expert. You are an expert, right? Because you wrote something or you recorded something that tells them, hey, you're a buyer. This is how I'm going to help you. You're a seller. This is what I'm going to do. And maybe you break it up into, kind of multiple posts. First time home buyer webinar. I used to do these and I had pretty good luck. Again, I've never seen anybody do this, right? There used to be first time home buyer seminars, right? Seminars. You would be in a room, there'd be a title person, an inspector, a lender, and you as the real estate agent, and you would invite people and you'd have some pizza and some beer and everybody would talk a little bit. You can do that all online. Can do that all online, right? And again, what it shows, like, again, I don't know, like, I haven't looked at the attendee list here, but, you know, we invite anybody. You don't have to work at Dalton Wade to, check this out, to learn. Why do I do that? Why do I do that? Well, there's a reason because, hey, they see me in action. This guy's giving me something. He's not asking for anything. And then hopefully, not all the time, hopefully they return the favor and they join Dalton Wade. Hey, I'm doing that webinar. I'm meeting some buyers, right? Well, I've got a better chance. I gave them something. I helped them. And really what I asked for in the end, I don't like explicitly ask, but the takeaway is, well, hey, they seem pretty smart. I learned a lot. I'm going to use them as my agent to, home seller webinar. Anything that gets you out there, anything that lets you meet people, interact with people. Many, many people don't have an agent. And then YouTube. YouTube has been very, very, very successful, right? And again, what people have done is they've created their YouTube channel where they're out there on YouTube promoting themselves, providing information. I have one, probably the best I've seen is one agent of ours, got a small team down in Sarasota, right? It's not really, his channel's not so much about real estate, it's more about Sarasota, right? Top restaurants, worst restaurants, best beaches, right? Best this, best that, lists, people like lists. And then, again, somebody's Googling Sarasota real estate. What happens often, you know, the top brokerages are going to come up, maybe a few agents come up, but then there's going to be some YouTube videos. It's gotten a ton of business from that, ton of business, high-end business. Something to think about. You got to have your plan, right? I mean, there's a lot here. There's a lot you can do. But whatever you do, right? If you're going to, hey, I'm going to create a YouTube channel, I'm going to research it, I'm going to figure out how to do it, and then I'm going to do it, and I'm going to consistently do it, right? It's that consistency that in the end makes it work. Your sphere, right? Your sphere of influence. We don't want to forget about our sphere of influence. Now, typically, your sphere of influence is your friends, your family, business associates, people you go to church with, right? People right? Great. You want their business. You want their business. You want to let them know you're an agent. Again, for most, it's not enough, meaning we just don't know enough people. What is a real estate business? Minimum one deal a month. Now, if you're a newer agent, it's going to take a little while for that to develop. But after a certain amount of time, you should be, maybe it's, 2 deals every 3 months. And then I can kind of see myself to, one a month. And then eventually, in 3 months, now I'm doing 4 or 5 transactions, right? It's possible. I was primarily a listing agent, and I was always kind of curious how, how people got buyers, because I didn't really have many buyers. And I remember meeting a young lady, and she was, her client had put an offer in on my listing, and we kind of hit it off. And I'm like, "Oh, where'd you get your client? How'd you get that client?" And she told me what she did. Every day, she tries to hand out 3 business cards. And from that, let's do the math. That's about 1,000 cards a year. She got 10 transactions from that effort, 1% conversion. 10 deals, she had to hand out 1,000 cards. This is several years ago now, but she's a Century 21 agent. Many agents wear the pin, right? She had the biggest pin. It was huge. 3 or 4 times. It was enormous. Couldn't miss it. Do you know how many people come up to her and comment on her pin? You know how much business she got off of that pin? Crazy things. I have an agent with a broken, I don't know if he still has this, but he now drives a Tesla, but he had a truck and he had a broken gas cap on the truck. And this guy, he can chat, he talks, he's a good talker, bilingual. People would come up to him and say, "Oh, your gas cap is broken." I'm not sure exactly, but then somehow he would flip them and he'd get talking about real estate. That was the icebreaker to start the conversation. He got 4 deals from the gas cap. It's all about talking to people. Again, a few years ago during COVID, you know, our office is in kind of a co-work space, and there was a young lady, and I could tell she was unfamiliar. I hadn't seen her there. I'm like, "Oh, what's up? How's it going?" Just throwing it out there. And then, "Oh, I'm like, "Oh, what's going on?" She goes, "Oh, I'm new here." I go, "Oh, what do you do?" That was kind of my go-to line when I'm talking to people. What do you do? I ask them about themselves. And she told me exactly what she did. This is kind of before, Zoom and all that. And she goes, "I work at a social media company and we're all dispersed, and I was not really as productive in the house. So I've come here." And then she went right where I wanted her to go. She asked me, most people will then ask you what you do. What do you do? She told me what she did. That, they usually will ask you, "What do you do?" Told her, real estate agent. Not that I was looking for her business, right? But just more to see if I still had it. But it's taking people, and again, you ask 200 people what they do over the course of a year, maybe you get 2 or 3 deals out of it. Where are those 10 or 12 deals? Where are they coming from? How are you going to get them? You got to have a plan. You got to execute. You got to put the time in prospecting, right? Talk to people. Got to have a plan, your plan of attack, right? How's this working? Phil said to do this. I remember, doing a training a few years back, and, there was a guy and he was calling, right? He was calling. He was making the calls, but he was having no results. I'm like, "Look, you got to switch it up. You got to change it up. Whatever you're telling those people, whatever you're saying to them isn't resonating. They're not getting it. You got to see how you're doing. Time goes by quickly. Check in, not with me, but with yourself. How's this going? Right? Be on top of it. If it's not working, switch quickly. Just talk a little bit more about YouTube. Everything we've talked about tonight, everything. I'm just one, I'm one guy trying to help you guys, give you some of my knowledge, some things that worked for me. Everything we touched upon tonight, listings, for sale by owner, internet leads, sphere of influence, open houses, right? All of it. You can go on YouTube and type in to the search box, real estate agent, internet leads, real estate agent listings, real estate agents, sphere of influence, whatever it is. And I'm telling you, 50 videos will come up from very, very generous people that are nice enough to tell you what they do, what they do. You may learn some good things, some things. Oh, that makes a lot of sense. Oh, there's a guy in Arizona. He says this. I'm going to try that. I'm going to try that. So there's a lot of resources out there, right? But the idea is you're going to have your plan. And then your plan hopefully is going to start tomorrow, Monday, soon, and you are going to execute your plan, right? So let's talk about in summary, right? Top agents, they're always prospecting for business. I will never forget that. When that guy said that to me, it stuck with me. I was not a top agent. I was just getting going. Didn't even know what I was doing, but I plowed through it. But it stuck with me because it's true. We're always prospecting. We're always looking for clients. And the longer you stay in the business, what ends up happening is your mix changes, right? Right now, if you're a new agent or a newer agent or you're just getting going, right? Even if you're an experienced agent, hopefully if you're an experienced agent, out of those, and you're doing 20 transactions a year, right, or more, well, let's say half of those, 60% come from referrals, people recommending you. That's what happens. It builds upon itself. But you're still out there prospecting, looking for new business, right? So what do I do? And again, this is what I did. 1 hour a day, I made those listing calls. I made them religiously. 1 hour a day, I would look, in KB Core at the time it was Boomtown, and I would follow up on those leads, right? And then 1 hour a day, I was on social media promoting my business, generating content, blogging, doing webinars, helping people, letting people know that I am a subject matter expert. Again, remember, being a real estate agent is a marathon. It's not a sprint. There is no easy answer. It goes back to what I said about there are no home runs. There's a lot of little things that if we do them, they add up to success. And then the last one, not to be forgotten, is don't forget AI, artificial intelligence. Primarily where we're seeing it being used is, in Chat GPT, right? Maybe writing some of your emails, writing some of your texts that you're sending out to people, writing your realtor remarks, anything that makes you more efficient, right? Which it does, gives you more time to prospect, right? That's the name of the game. That's what you should be thinking about when you wake up. And then hopefully what happens is you get busy and then, maybe you're not ready you don't have as much time, to prospect because your prospecting, has worked. All right, let me throw it out to for some questions. I'll start at the top. Valerie says hello. Hey, Valerie. Lisa says we've made it through the storms. It's all good. Thank you, Eduardo, Steve. Good seeing you guys. Let me scroll down here. If you have any questions, type them in. Looks like we got a bunch of hellos. Hello to everyone. Thank you for being here. Let's see. Well, we didn't make out too good with the hurricane. We did, our house was up on stilts, but, our neighborhood suffered pretty much, but they're cleaning it up. They're getting it done. So just a matter of time, everything will be better. Let's see. Yeah, thank you, Betty. Betty says absolutely. Real estate can be a tough industry. It can be, but persistence and passion are the key to success. Again, it's having that plan. It's executing against your plan. It's putting the time in, right? The time in. Again, what am I doing? Oh, I really actually like calling, so I'm not going to call 10 people a day. I'm going to call 20 people a day. I'm going to call 20 people today. I'm going to go on Craigslist. I'm going to track down anybody there, or Facebook Marketplace, or Zillow, right? I'm going to get those expired, withdrawn. I'm going to call them. Hey, Kim, does DW post content to our YouTube channel? I mean, no, we don't. I mean, basically through that paradigm, that should flow through, but I'd have to double check. But we're not posting to your YouTube. Hey, Shelley, how are you? Because KV Core probably is more expensive in terms of cost per lead. We've seen, unfortunately, a fairly dramatic rise in what's charged, and that's just not with KV Core. That is really across the board with everybody. Zillow, Realtor, um, all of them. There just aren't as many buyers out there shopping, so there aren't as many leads being generated. That's the best that I can tell. But we've seen almost from Boomtown to KV Core, almost a doubling in what they cost per lead. So that's probably the reason why there aren't as many. So and I mean, coupled with just not as many buyers, out there, kind of adds up to just not as many leads. So again, the leads that do come through, we need to be as efficient, as good as we can, really try to connect with that person, kind of all that. Absolutely, Michael, no problem. Glad to be here. Let's see. Yeah, we will put it up on the training, kind of on the on-demand training, Ed. Absolutely, that'll probably be up there. The recorded version, tomorrow, probably tomorrow afternoon. Hey, Bruce. So here's the thing. Generally speaking, my conversion might be a little bit higher than most, and I'm not bragging or being, but I do think I was just better at it than many. What we've observed over time is really a couple things. So there's a couple of variables. One is the zip code, the area, some areas generate more better leads than others. It's not like kind of a blanket thing across the board. And then certainly the biggest component is the agent's ability to connect with that person, that they've met, either through kind of a live transfer, through a lead coming in through text or email. And again, what you're always trying to do, right? At least with internet leads, is meet them. Meet them. You're not selling anybody anything without meeting them. You got to meet them. And then same on the listing side. If you're prospecting for listings, you want that listing appointment. But again, go back to my numbers there, right? 2% conversion. So four listing appointments out of 200 calls. So I had 196 people tell me, like, pound sand, drop dead. That's putting it nicely. I didn't care. I don't care. I'm on to the next. I'm on. It can be, not positive, but I did it. I did it. And then after I did it, I took a nap because it was draining. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of effort, but you gotta put that time in. You got a time block. And then again, I mean, I really haven't been in production for, a few years now, 3, 4 years. I know just, from Shelley's question, the leads cost more. The leads cost more. I mean, Zillow leads, I mean, when I first started, Zillow had this foreclosure product that was getting like $10 a lead, and I was good at converting those. Very profitable. Now you might pay $100, $200. Some zip codes, it's $500 a lead. It's ridiculous. It's expensive. I think the days of making, you know, five, six, seven times your money, it's tough. That's why you can't. Internet leads, many agents like internet leads because somebody's reached out to you and then you can go from there. But internet leads are just one of five things. Like, again, I've seen agents, right, that again, during the pandemic, when there were tons and tons of buyers out there, yeah, you could kind of build your business off internet leads. I don't believe that's possible today at all. At all. You got to be doing other things. You got to be doing other things. They cost more, the conversion seems lower, right? All that. So, you got to have other channels, other things. I mean, it's doing all five of these things, not just one of them isn't enough. Is there a way to tell if FISBOs have already been contacted by someone before you reach out to them? Probably not. I mean, and again, Brittany, or did I ever call FISBOs, or would I call and then, they're unhappy that I called? Yeah, I would just really apologize. I try to defuse the situation. If you ever get somebody that, is giving you a hard time, just say, I'll never call you again. I'm sorry. I'm trying to feed my family. I mean, hey, what is it? It's a phone call. Some people are crazy, but I don't really believe there is. I mean, that's what I primarily went after were, for sale by owners. Thank you, Ed. Paradigm does post to YouTube. Appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, it's a good refresher. Good seeing you, Frank. Thank you. That's kind of why we're here, right? I mean, again, it's just reminder, maybe, you kind of slipped away from, really putting the time and effort in, regroup, and attack. Absolutely. Good seeing you, Karen. Thank you for being here. Appreciate that. See here. Daniel says, I find lower price home insurance. Yeah, I mean, again, I mean, however it is, like if you think about it, I mean, really what we're doing is we're kind of seeding seeding the farm, so to speak, right? Again, and Daniel talks about like doing something for that person. And then what happens is then they do something for him by giving him the listing, right? Again, if you have enough of this going and you're doing this consistently, day in, day out, week in, month in, right? Then eventually it starts to kick in. That person you talked to 3 months ago, they're ready to list. Or that person you talked to 6 months ago, hey, at least you're in the mix to do the listing presentation for them. Thank you, Carol. Absolutely. Carol kills it on some very, very high price listings. She's an awesome agent. It never happens overnight. It's a process, but you must be consistent. You got to have your plan. Again, how much prospecting did I do today? Right? Hopefully, we're going to do more tomorrow in the days ahead because you're going to be motivated by this webinar. But right? Oh, I didn't do any prospecting today, but I had time to do it. I just didn't do it. Got to do it. You got to do it. Hey, George, good to see you. Our dialer is still a good tool for prospecting. If so, which do you recommend? I personally never used a dialer. I mean, probably because I was only calling 10 people a day. Didn't really, that was just my thing was, do 10 a day every day. Again, I mean, I know there's Mojo Dialer, there's probably some other ones. Um, they do cost something. I mean, try them out. Hopefully you can, have a short subscription, see if they work for you. Go online, Google, real estate agent dialers, phone dialers. I'm sure many will come up and then read the reviews, see what people say about them. Hey, Devin, do you know of any websites to help with studying the market? Not really. I mean, again, I mean, you can kind of go out there, maybe check out some open houses, see where things are priced in your farm. Um, I would definitely take the MLS course. Um, Again, I'm not sure, but I'm seeing maybe a little bit of hesitation from Devin. Not sure, but here's what I did. Again, this may not work for everybody. I got the listing and then I figured out how to get it in MLS, right? Oh, I know how to use MLS. I'm awesome at MLS, but I don't have any business. Think about getting business. From there, usually things work out. If you have problems, your broker will help you, or if you're, right? So um, there's somebody to help you. But if you don't have that listing, there's or that client, it's harder, it's harder to help. Hey Bob, yeah, I mean I definitely I agree. I do think things have changed. There's no doubt about that. I think it was always um I think it was always some level of skepticism around real estate agents with many people, especially like my target group was always, kind of for sale by owners. Why are they doing that? Why are they selling their house themselves? There's only one reason: they want to save money. They don't see the value. But here's what I learned over time, right? Most people don't know what they're doing. And actually, selling a house is a lot more work. Plus, no buyer wants to deal with that homeowner, right? They want somebody in between. And if they are dealing with the homeowner, guess what? They want the property for less because they know there's no commission, right? So, again, I think it's all about communicating, your value. We talked about this extensively when we talked about, the changes through NAR. We did a whole bunch of webinars, right? Again, it's all about communicating your value, right, to that seller and to that buyer. And not everybody gets it. And if they don't get it, there's not much you can do about it. If you know what you're presenting to them is as good as it can be, as good as any agent out there, then maybe they're not the right client. Just again to talk a little bit more about the NAR settlement. I mean, we've seen a little bit of slowdown in business, primarily due to the hurricanes if you're here in Florida. But before that, I mean, the NAR settlement had been in place probably a couple months, business as usual. Nothing really changed in the end. Most people are still using a real estate agent as is at least, you know, what our finding, my finding has been. But again, you got to get good at, you know, communicating what your value proposition is and why it should be you. Absolutely, Trudy. You got to sharpen, sharp. You got to sharpen that saw, right? You got to put that time in. I mean, I think sometimes, Trudy's been an agent a little bit. I think, once you kind of, have been out there a while, you forget sometimes, like, right? You kind of you de-emphasize, right? The prospecting. Top agents are always prospecting for business, right? It's a continual. Again, maybe it's less than it would be if you're new or newer, right? Thank you, Larry. Appreciate that. Desiree, thank you. Desiree's a new agent. Glad she's here. Awesome. She's here. Where are all those other new agents? They're not here. They're not going to make it, right? You got to be a sieve. You got to suck up that information. You got to learn, right? And it takes time and keep going and right, but then it gets easier and you get more experience and you get more comfortable with it. Thank you, Shelley. Appreciate it. We'll go golfing soon. Thank you, Ed. All right, let's see. Yvonne, it's going to take a little while, I mean, we've had hurricanes before. It does slow down. We are also entering, kind of seasonally the slower time of year, right? Thanksgiving, Christmas, only the serious, buyers are out there then. But remember, January 1st will be here, a couple months away, rebirth. Everybody will have forgotten about the hurricanes and we'll start all over. Plant the seeds now for then, right? Put the prospecting time in now so that when January and February does come again and it is busy, you'll benefit from that. Thank you, Raquel. Thank you, Susie. I appreciate it. Yeah, absolutely. Have that listing presentation. I mean, we have that up on, Join Dalton Wade. You can download it. Same with the buyer presentation. Have something. Hey, Nicole, good to see you. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Brittany. We're glad to have you. Appreciate that. Thank you, Sabrina. Good to see you. Hey, Lydia, how are you? Yeah, so Lydia, we do have that service. We run through the Red X. Should make sure we're getting you. Shoot me an email. I'll make sure you get that list. It does append, the do not call names to the list. So you know not to touch them. Hey, Melissa, good to see you. If you could shoot me an email, we'll connect you with somebody. I know Eddie, who's here, is right in your area. He may be able to help you in that regard. Um, see what else. Ramon, good to see you. Thank you. Hey Marcel, no, I would just make 10 calls a day, not 10 conversations. I was kind of, because I was doing some transactions pretty much right out of the gate. So, my thing was 1 hour I made the calls, and maybe it would be more than 10, but maybe less if I had some conversations. I'd spend an hour kind of following up on my internet leads, an hour on social. That was 3 hours. Maybe if it was a slow day in terms of any client business closings, I could do more in that regard. But that's so me, it was just 10 calls. I really physically couldn't do more. I mean, that was kind of my number, but it worked, I got my business going. So right, let's see. Hey Genevieve, how are you? Yeah, I mean, I have some scripts. Again, typically my approach more with FISBOs was some type of like slightly lower commission, right? They like that. You got to kind of speak that language cheap, right? That's why they're doing it. Again, if you can get 2.5, right, 5%, whatever, awesome. But I'll send you some scripts. If you shoot me an email to remind me, I'll send those scripts over. We can even spend some time kind of going through it. But again, for FISBOs, they do like, again, maybe it's, 1.5%, 2%, 2.5, something like that, 3.5, 4 total, again, some are just, but the main, the main thing about FISBOs, here's what they focus on: the commission, the commission. What you want to have them focus on is what they get at closing, right? Meaning, you know, let's say a FISBO selling a home and they get 5 offers. They price it really attractively. Are they going to know to do highest and best? Absolutely not. So they're going to take one of those offers where they maybe could have driven the price up another 10 or 15 grand. A realtor will know that. A realtor will do that. In essence, paying for themselves, plus doing all the work. It's those type of things. Again, we want to move away from having people think about like the commission, right? And for a seller, what do you get at closing? For a buyer, how much are you going to pay? On the buyer side, hey, I'm an awesome negotiator. I'm gonna be able to negotiate that house and hopefully be able to buy it for less for you. That's why they use us. Again, if you think about it, I don't know what the stats are now. They're probably about the same. It's in excess of 95% of homes sell through a realtor. Why? Because it's the best way to do it. I used to, before I was a realtor, I'm like, what do they get all that money for? What do they get all that? What do they do? What do they get that money? And that's what most people think. They don't really understand all that goes into it, all that happens. So what you want to communicate is, I'm going to buy that house for you for less, and I'm going to sell that house for you for more if you're a seller. And in essence, I'm paying for myself, plus I'm doing the work. Thank you, Michael. Appreciate it. Hey, C, good to see you. Thank you for being here. Hopefully, you got a few tips, learned a little bit, get out there, do some prospecting, work hard. Again, as I mentioned to Yvonne, the thing being, hey, now it is a little bit slow. We're kind of going into that slower time. But once January 1st comes, usually it's like, every year I'm like worried. Oh no, maybe this is something. No, but every year it comes back and people like it's a new year. I'm going to buy a house, right? Or I'm going to sell my house, and put the time in now, and you'll see your business take off come January. Cool. I will send you those scripts. Um, and anybody else, the best thing for, if you could see, is to just email me, Phil at daltonwade.com. And if you're interested in those, I will send those out in the morning, get you those. So shoot me that email. Probably a good idea to put them up online. Absolutely. We're worth every penny. All right, let's see here if I missed any questions. Doug says, I have a client that would like to buy a FSBO. They want me to drop the contract, glad to pay me themselves. I just need to have them sign the buyer broker agreement. Correct. Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yep. And then obviously have them sign that. If they're going to pay you, maybe the seller's willing to pay part of it as well. See what they say. Certainly can ask Doug. No harm there. All right. Any last questions before we call it a night? Thank you everyone for being here. Really appreciate it. Hopefully picked up a few tips. Don't forget, don't type your email address in here. Email me, write scripts, and I will get you those. Thank you, Doug. All right, everyone. Thank you, Betty. Appreciate it. Let's see what Betty has to say. Yeah, it's not easy, but we got to work at it. We're here. Let's do it. All right, everyone. Enjoy. Have a great evening. Thank you. Appreciate your time. Good night, everyone. Thank you so much.